Welcome back to the Premier League show. The big news today, we understand Bukayo Saka has signed a new 5-year contract at Arsenal as they prepare for a game at Wolves and the North London derby this weekend. Arsenal could be 7 points clear at the top if they beat Wolves tomorrow. So is Mikel Arteta feeling the pressure? It appears not. It's very kind of our producers to give you a second chance to unreservedly praise Arsenal, isn't it, this evening? Let's talk about the North London derby, and obviously Mikel Arteta will be and has been saying the Wolves game comes first, but, and I'm sure he'll never admit that, is there a part of him that'll think, not facing Tottenham at the best of time, given we're expecting maybe a slightly different animal as they've just changed their manager?
Yeah, it's always difficult to come up against a team with a new manager. So often, we spoke about it today on the show, new manager bounce, especially going away to Spurs. I think it's going to be a real tough game. But I think, you know, Arteta has got everything right so far this season. And as he mentions there, it is game at a time. There is no easy game in the Premier League. They still need to do the job against Wolves first. But of course, he will have one eye on what they can do at Tottenham.
What I find interesting at this stage of the season is looking at the teams that you've played twice, and that Arsenal have played Villa twice, Man United twice, and Liverpool twice. It feels like there is going to be so much onus, obviously, on that game at the Etihad, but they have played a lot of those better teams 2 times already, which feels advantageous.
For sure, but I mean, in some ways, yes. But then if you look at the second half of the table, you'd go, there's also teams in there that so often pop up with surprise results, especially away from home. If you look at Brentford in the last game, yeah, they were able to surprise Arsenal. And at times, I thought that Brentford could potentially have won that game. So, listen, there's no easy game in the Premier League. I can't emphasise that enough. We hear managers talking about it. I can tell as a former player, there was no easy game. When I was in the relegation teams, we still fancied ourselves against the Arsenal, your Man City, your Chelsea. And now and again, we've got the result. So Arsenal need to be consistent. In my head, they need to win every game from now until the end of the season. Because one more slip up, if they draw one more game and City then beat them, it's City's title.
Do you think that the quadruple conversation can ever become distracting? Because every stage of not every season, but a lot of seasons, you get to this point where there is one. Amazingly, now there are 2 teams who could potentially do it. But, I mean, history tells us that it's never going to happen. But that almost bleeds into the conversation a little bit and could also be a bit distracting.
Well, everyone wants to be a history maker, right? And for all the right reasons. I remember talking about it last year with Liverpool for a period of time, and then all of a sudden that completely fell away. So I'm sure that Arsenal and Mikel Arteta would love to silence critics, because there are a lot of critics over recent years, silence all the critics and win everything, of course. But I think for me, the Premier League is the one that him and the fans want the most.
Dare I ask how many you think Arsenal might end up with trophy-wise?
I think they're going to win the Premier League. I think this is their year. If it's not their year, then I'm not sure how long they'll stick with Mikel Arteta. Will they continue with this plan? Because it's been a long-term plan. But I do think they'll win that. I think they'll probably win one of the domestic trophies, and then it's all to play for in the Champions League. I'm going to sit on the fence for the Champions League. I'm not quite sure, because the Premier League may be the biggest distraction.
All right, well, for the meantime, it is 2 big Premier League games to come this week for Arsenal, starting tomorrow night at Molineux. Top against bottom. Arsenal, as we said, can go 7 points clear at the summit. Wolves-Arsenal live from 7:30 on Sky Sports Premier League. And then after that, all eyes on North London this weekend, part of a very busy Super Sunday. But well, it's interesting there that he started, Stephen, talking about the fact that he's going to become a dad for the first time. You wonder whether things like that, given the scenario Arsenal find themselves in, that bit of perspective and the reminder that whilst it is really important to try and win loads of trophies, there are more important things out there too, will be quite useful for him in the coming months. Yeah,
I think it will look like the perspective, as you mentioned. It also just puts it for me into context. You know, you've got a family there. You're going to become a father. What a time to be David Raya. I mean, he's going to be a father. He's going to maybe win the Premier League, maybe win the Champions League. We've got 2 domestic cups as well that he's playing for. He's on track to win the Golden Glove. Listen, it's a great time to be David Raya, but he's worked hard for that. You know, I remember a few years back when he first went into Arsenal, there was a lot of question marks. I was one of them, if I'm honest. I felt Ramsdale at the time was doing well, but Arteta trusted in him, and he's more than repaid the favour. So it's a fantastic time for David Raya, and we saw one of the saves there. Listen, he's an outstanding keeper, and he can play with his feet, so he's got it all.
Arsenal face a golden opportunity to extend their grip on the Premier League title when they travel to Molineux to take on bottom-of-the-table Wolverhampton Wanderers on Wednesday, February 18, 2026, at 2000 hours Greenwich Mean Time. Currently sitting top with 57 points from 26 games, 17 wins, 6 draws, 3 losses, plus 32 goal difference. Mikel Arteta's side hold a 4-point lead over second-placed Manchester City, 53 points. A victory against the relegation strugglers would push Arsenal 7 points clear, providing crucial breathing room in a fiercely competitive race. Wolves, languishing in 20th with just 9 points, 1 win, 6 draws, 19 losses, are enduring a dismal campaign and sit as the league's lowest scorers. They've struggled badly at home and are winless in their last 6 league outings, making this a classic top versus bottom clash. Arsenal boast a dominant historical edge, winning their last 9 meetings against Wolves, including a 2-1 victory earlier this season, and have racked up impressive records against relegation-zone teams. Arteta's men enter the fixture brimming with confidence after a ruthless 4-0 FA Cup demolition of Wigan Athletic on February 15, where the likes of Madueke, Gabriel Martinelli, and Gabriel Jesus shone. The Gunners' depth remains strong despite minor concerns over injuries. Martin Odegaard ruled out, with Evereki's likely to start in midfield, and players like Bukayo Saka are relishing advanced roles. Arteta has described the top spot as a hard-earned privilege and emphasized maintaining focus amid the multi-competition demands. Predictions heavily favor Arsenal, with forecasts ranging from 2-0 to 3-0 wins, citing their clinical form and Wolves' defensive frailties. A professional performance could see the Gunners capitalize on City's upcoming schedule and restore momentum after the recent Brentford draw. With 12 games left, this is a must-win to keep the quadruple chase on track. Premier League dominance starts here. Can Arteta's side go 7 points clear? The signs point to yes, but football demands ruthlessness against the underdogs. Please like and subscribe.